Okay, so slightly different location to usual. Apologies for that, but when I filmed that interview, I was incredibly tired. It was like 6 in the morning, so I was running a bit late. But this is episode 3 of our interview series that I'm doing in support of One Girl. My name is Sneha, and I am a One Girl ambassador this year, raising awareness and money for girls' education in Sierra Leone and Uganda. This episode, we're talking to Jocelyn. Jocelyn is a current electrical engineering student, and she's just an overall amazing person. As always, the link to donate to learn more about One Girl, what they do to support girls' education, is all below. I don't often do this, but if you have the means to and you're currently watching, please consider donating a couple dollars. It is really going towards an incredible cause. If education has impacted you in any way, shape, or form, you are directly going to be able to contribute to giving other people that opportunity by supporting. So links are below, and enjoy the conversation.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Apologies for my slight confusion this morning. I realize I'm not as good at waking up early as I thought I was. That's okay. You're probably going to see the sunrise in the background gradually as well, but
Well, what time is it for you?
6 a.m. It's 6 a.m.
Oh my goodness. It is 2 p.m. for me. That's crazy.
I was like, I need to find a time that's going to work. I feel like I could have gone later, but I was like, you know what? This is going to be prime time to wake me up in the morning and a good conversation. So how have you been? How's
Yeah.
your been so far?
It's been good. Studying for midterms. I
Yeah.
finish them next week. Um,
Oh, that's exciting. How have they been so far?
they've been good.
Yeah.
And today I had a class in the morning, and then I went to go get the new booster shot. So I woke up from a nap from that, so it was really good.
Yeah. Was it okay? I need to book mine actually. Course.
Yeah, it's the new one, the bivalent one. So it has like the chains. That's the one we have here.
Okay, I don't
Because
have that in Australia yet. I think it's just another
a
another
boost.
Pfizer shot.
Oh, okay.
Memory. I don't
Because
know. Yeah.
I have Moderna. So
Oh.
we had the series of 2 shots, and
Yeah.
then after a while they offered a booster. So I
Yeah.
already had the booster last November, and
Yeah.
then they just made this new booster with 2 strains instead of just one.
In-
And they just made it available to the public, like not just immunocompromised people.
Yeah.
So I just got it today at my university. They were holding a clinic for
Oh,
all this.
I was at uni. That's so helpful.
Yeah, and it's like completely free.
Yeah,
And so I went to go do that in the morning.
I love
Um,
it. Does it
so
feel,
far so good.
yep, so far so good. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to give a bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yes. So my name is Jocelyn Duran. I am a Hispanic student at the University of Texas at Arlington here in Texas. I'm an electrical engineering student minoring in mathematics, and I'm excited to be here and talk to you about education. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I'm excited. So are you from Texas?
Yes, I was born and raised here in Texas in the US.
Nice, nice. How has your university education been so far? You're in second year, is that right?
Second, third year.
Third year?
Mm,
It's a bit different.
yeah.
Our years are January to December, so I need to remember
Oh,
different. So have you just started third year? Or
I start my third year next year. It's
okay.
different because when I started college, I did a year and a half in my hometown at a university there, and then I transferred to my current university.
Got
So
it.
the credits and everything, they're like, I'm not like a traditional student, so
Got
I go at a
it.
different pace. And so
Yeah.
I've already taken some classes that my classmates haven't, and they've taken classes I haven't. So it's kind
Yeah.
of weird.
Yeah, I'm actually the exact same boat because I transferred to physics midway through last year. So I'm doing second year physics units and third year engineering units. So I never know what to
Yeah,
tell people what year I'm in.
yeah. So I'm just like, I'm just here. I'm just here.
Yeah, I just exist. I go through my education and I'm vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me a bit about, so you do electrical engineering. I didn't know you minored in mathematics. What made you choose that path? What got you interested in electrical?
So interesting. When was at my old university, we did a thing called pre-engineering because they prepare you, I guess, to take basics
Yeah.
bef- before you want to transfer or go into an engineering program. And so at my hometown, they didn't have any of the engineering programs I wanted. I specifically wanted aerospace. that was just something I had a goal for since I started college, since before actually, probably since I was like 15,
Mhm.
16. I visited a NASA center here in Houston. I traveled there and I was just like, I want to be an aerospace engineer. So I applied, I got into my current university. Um, and then I got in spring 2020, and that's when the pandemic hit. And so it was so, so tough to do those classes in the middle of a pandemic, going online and just adjusting to mostly being online. So I
Yeah.
did 3 semesters of aerospace, and then it was spring 2021, and I wasn't doing well in some of my classes. I just couldn't. I said, I need to be in a classroom. I can't just do
Mhm.
this over screen. So I decided to switch my major that end of that semester, and I decided to do electrical, which was always like my second option.
Mm.
And it was just something I always wanted. I love learning about circuits and working with circuit boards, being hands-on, soldering. So once I switched that summer, learned how to solder on my own with just like YouTube videos,
Mm.
and I did projects at home. And I think I've posted about those in my Instagram at the very beginning. But
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. And that's when I
Throwback.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when I started my electrical engineering progress and degree. And ever since I switched there, I think I've had just so many opportunities.
Mhm.
It's been more welcoming. I believe in our school, especially in like our mechanical and aerospace department, it's very misogynistic, unfortunately. There's not that many girls or just women in that
Yeah.
degree program. But once I switched, I had talked to this girl who was like a mentor to me, and they were all so nice, so welcoming. The department was so welcoming.
Yeah.
They really just wanted to help me, and I believe that's what like kept me there. And the
Yeah.
professors are so cool. Like subjects are hard. Like it's not an easy degree. I don't
Yeah.
think any engineering degree is.
I have some mates who
But
do electrical here, and I'm like, whoo.
ooh,
That's it. Like,
yeah.
I do aero, so it's still difficult, of course. But some of those electrical subjects, I look at them and I'm like, ooh, I don't know.
And that's what people tell me. Some people were like, people don't usually switch from one degree to a harder degree or to like another engineering. And I
Yeah,
said, I know, but that's what I did.
yeah,
And this is my third semester with it so far, and so far I love it.
yeah.
Um, I'm
Oh,
gonna stick with it. I
yeah.
really love it.
I think it's so cool, especially electrical. There's so much scope there at the moment. Like I see so many opportunities where I'm like, oh, an electrical engine. Like there's this like power trio I feel in aerospace of like the aero engineer, the mechatronics engineer, and the electrical engineer. I feel like
Yeah,
there's so much change that can happen from it. Do you follow Cat Voltage on Instagram?
do. Oh, I love
Like
her.
it's so amazing
She's
how
who I want to be. She's like
yeah.
my inspiration, I
She's
swear.
doing incredible things right now as well. Like I'm looking at all her like Vogue photos and I'm like, oh my God, this is
She's
incredible.
amazing.
So
I,
exciting.
so I did this NASA Academy a
Yes, I want
few
to talk about that.
semesters back,
Yeah.
and we needed like a person that could provide us information, like for an actual industry professional. So
Mm.
I had actually messaged her, and at that time she was still working at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, and I had followed her, and I had asked her if she could like help me out with that. I know she was working on the Europa Clipper. She had
Yeah.
been posting that, and she responded, and she had told me what exact the info I needed, which I don't remember because it's been so long. She
Yeah.
had told me she referred me to these other people that I could find online and their information.
Yeah.
And every so often, like I would respond to some of her stories, and she'd like respond, and it was so crazy because like she went from just like 1 year to another. She did all these things. And I'm like, wow, I remember talking to her sometimes. Like it's just so crazy seeing her
So nice to see as well.
achieve everything.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about like some of the university environments being kind of uncomfortable sometimes or misogynistic, it's like seeing people like that is like, okay, I could do it, I could make it through. And these people, at the end of the day, like they really don't like I experience it too. I've had some situations where even tutors, I'm like, really? You're saying this right now? Like this is not the right attitude to have. But
Oh
then
my gosh.
it's so upsetting, but then the more I go through, the more I'm like, okay, once I'm successful and in that place, those people goodbye. Like,
Yeah.
no matter
So
how did
they're
you.
so
Yeah,
discouraging.
it
Yeah.
really is. Like in my first year, I had a situation, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, it took a lot of strength to get past it. But how did you get past it? Like, obviously going to a different major and everything, but in the moment, like how did you feel and what did you react? Like, how did you react?
Oh, I had a breakdown. It
Yeah,
was so, so bad.
yeah.
Um, Throughout high school, my thing was the NASA girl. Like I
Mm,
was in bands and I was in other organizations, and everybody who knew me on a personal level was like, Jocelyn's a space girl. Like she's
mm,
gonna be an astronaut. She's gonna go to space. She's gonna work for NASA. Like that was basically something that was became a part of who I was.
yeah.
So going to university, I said, okay, I'm gonna do my basics, and I'm gonna transfer out and do aerospace. And when I posted that I was transferring, I went to a SpaceX launch site in South Texas, and it was when they were barely starting it. And I took my pictures there with my little banner, and I remember all my friends posting, "Oh my God, I can't wait! You're gonna do amazing things." I had a very good support system, especially my family.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I didn't know anyone in this town or
Yeah.
like this part of Texas, so it was very hard.
Yeah.
And my mom and my sister, they're two of my like biggest supporters.
Mm.
These supporters basically,
Yeah.
and they cried. My mom cried so much because I'm the baby of my family,
Oh yeah.
so she dropped me off at 19. So she was just like, "Oh my God," crying, saying, "Please take care of yourself."
Yeah.
So I go through my aerospace degree in that last semester, that I just hit a point. I believe it was about a month until the semester was gonna end. And I said, I can't. Like I called her at about 2 in the morning,
Mm.
and I called my sister and I was crying so much. And she thought like I was like in a hospital or something. She's like, Jocelyn, are you okay? And I said, yeah. I'm like, go wake up mom. I'm like, I need to talk to her. Because
Mm.
she's been like she's the one who has to pay my tuition and my rent here. And so I
Yeah.
told her, like, I need to tell her, I can't just switch my degree or anything without telling her. So I call her, she's like, goes to the kitchen and she has like such a puffy face because she's,
Yeah.
just waking up and it's a very late night. And she's like, are you okay? And I said, Mom, I can't, like, I need to switch my major. I think at that time I was retaking a course, and if I
Mm.
didn't pass it, I'd switch my major.
Mm.
And I was like, I can't pass this course. I said, I'm not gonna get a passing grade, and I know that. And I
Mm.
just called her and I told her, Mom, like, I need to switch my degree. And at that moment, I felt so disappointed in myself, and I felt like I was letting everybody down.
Mm.
And I learned to just it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks, like as long as you're okay. But in that moment, I felt that the whole world just shut down, and I said, "Oh my God, I spent all this money and I sacrificed so much time, and now I'm switching to something."
Yeah.
And at that moment, I didn't know I'd be where I am now,
Yeah.
obviously. But oh my gosh, it was so so rough, especially because I think it's so rooted in us that um you make a change like that and it's bad, and there's like no support for it, which was so so hard on, especially on like my mental health. I felt like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. But the moment I switched, I felt like a shift in my mental health. I felt so relaxed, and I said,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna do better here. And so far that's been the case.
100%. And I couldn't relate more, honestly. Like, it's so nice to open this conversation up because I feel like people don't showcase that feeling often enough. But I was the exact same, and the same situation. My mom is definitely my biggest supporter. And in school as well, like everyone knew me as the space person as well. Even when I graduated, your like mentor teacher gives a little speech about you, and at the end of the speech, he was like, "She's going to work for the Australian Space Agency." I was like, "Oh my God, the pressure!" But I was like very much that person. But then I finished my first year, most of it through COVID, and I remember I called my mom because I live about 3.5 hours from home. So I don't live in Sydney. I live like more rural Australia. I
Mhm.
called, I was like, I need to come home because I'm like not coping. And I got into the car and I just started crying because I was like, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not smart enough for this. Because as well, I don't know if you felt this, but like I was not getting the grades I got in school. And I know uni is so different, like, but it was such a journey for me to realize that uni is not a completely different can of fish to school. You can't expect that feeling in uni. But I remember having that conversation and then switching my major to the double to physics. And I felt this relief of like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, I don't need to
Yeah.
be stupid all the time. Like, because I'm not, none of us are, no one is.
No.
But it's just a feeling that, some environments can put you in that you're like, oh, you don't deserve to be
Yes.
here.
And the thing for me was during your first 2 years of your degree program, they have the weed out classes. That's what they call them. And
Mm.
so I felt, oh my gosh, I'm a weed out. And
Mm.
so I said, wow, like this is so disappointing. Um, and I had made a friend group with these two other girls who were also in aerospace. One of them had moved out to physics,
Mm.
and this other one, she was still in the program. I think she said, "I'm gonna do it one more semester, and I can't pass these classes. I also have to switch." So
Mm.
I switched, and it was just her. We were rooting for her. We
Mm.
were like, "Oh my god, like you can do this! Like, come
Yeah.
on, be the one of the three." But she ended up switching to electrical as well.
Yeah.
So the three of us completely like switched out of it, and
Mm.
it's sad because I feel like we just didn't have the support and the help that we really need.
Culture. It's nothing to do with the content or the difficulty or anything like that, because, and I'm very confident, and I say this to people from school all the time, like anyone can do engineering. And I think it's completely the environment and the people around you that affect whether you can get through it or not. But hopefully the culture will change over time. How did you pull yourself out of the mental space? Because obviously now you're in electrical, the things you're doing are incredible. So what was the journey like? How did you get back out into realizing, yeah, this is cool, I'm happy again?
So it was that May. I ended the semester, and I don't stay here during the summers because I don't really take classes unless absolutely necessary. So I moved out all my stuff from my apartment, and I went back home, and it was a difficult probably month, probably the entirety of June, which was last year. It
Mm.
was a lot of, I feel like, failure and a lot of crying. And I remember telling my mom, like, "Mom, but like I came here for this certain degree and now I'm not doing it." And she said, when I had called her actually, she thought I was going back home. And she's like, "Oh, are you gonna come back home?" And I remember her telling me the minute I wanted to transfer and I got accepted, my last semester home, she told me, she said, "Don't be that person that gives up on like one semester because you let your mental state like take over everything else you have." So I'm a strong-headed person, and in my family, I'm known as like hard-headed, and I'm the go-getter. And even though I'm the youngest, I'm the one that like has an I guess an attitude,
Mm.
which is really funny.
Yeah.
My mom, she's like, "You're the one with the attitude." She's like, "No one can bite you." She's like, "You bite them." And
Yeah.
so, um, I'm just she's used to, I guess, seeing me like that. So seeing me in like, I guess, it's not a fragile state at all, but to me it was in a fragile state.
Yeah.
She was very concerned, and she said she thought I was gonna transfer back home, and I said, "I'm not doing that." I'm like, "I can't do that. I've spent too much money, too much time. I've invested my life here. Like my life is here right now." And so I thought about all those things throughout that whole month. And throughout that whole month, I just thought, I have people have expectations of me, but I have expectations of me, and my expectations matter. And I said, my expectations are, I'm getting my engineering degree from here. So I was like, get your head out of the gutter. And I
Yeah.
said, just suck it up, pull yourself together. And I let myself, cry a bit, but I know I can't let myself cry too much. I
Yeah.
can't get into my head. And my friends said the same. They said, Jocelyn, like, it's okay. It
Mm.
happens. They're like, you're still going to get your degree one way or another. They're
Yeah.
like, you're still going to do what you want, just in a different way than you expected. And I remember reading something about that said, there's so many paths you can take to the same goal. And so I said, okay, this is just a different path. And my mom told me the same thing. She said, it's just going to be different classes, different degree, different focus. She's like, but you can still get the job you want, and you can still get the opportunities, if not more. And I think that's really, really what helped me. And starting my STEM account too, and just finding so many people that are going through the same thing. And I loved finding people and students who would also post about their struggles
Yeah.
and saying, failure is just so common, but they make it seem like it's taboo or that it's bad. And seeing, people who have also switched majors and they're just so much happier in the new major. They're not as stressed, even though it is stressful, but I feel like there's a difference between being, stressed, like regular stress, and just stressed all the time where you're just constantly working and you can't catch a break. And I felt like that was me before I switched my major. I feel like I just couldn't find a balance. And now, I mean, I do have one now, which is awesome.
Amazing.
But I think it was just talking to friends and family about it and
Yeah.
having that support system, because I think just having a support system itself really did help me get
Yeah,
out of that mental state.
absolutely. Like, I wish change was more normalized, like change and failure, because every successful person's gone through it. Some people don't talk about it, but guaranteed, if you look at anyone who's currently happy and successful, they've gone through something like that. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like it's so taboo in uni to discuss, like, oh, I even something as simple as I didn't pass this test. And I'm like, that's okay if you didn't pass a test. And it's the same in high school. You talked about like there's different pathways to whatever you want to be at. And so some people who don't get the marks to get into engineering, for example, I'm like, just take a year, do this thing, science, for example, and then transfer to engineering. Like there's always a path to where you want to be. And I feel like
Yeah.
I wish those paths were discussed more and it wasn't so rigid coming out of school. Did you feel like that in high school at all, where it was like, I need to go down this step, then this step, then this step?
Oh yeah, it was definitely pushed on us a lot. So where I'm from, it's a border town, and so I believe or maybe like 95% of my community were Hispanic
Mm.
or straight from Mexico. So my parents grew up in Mexico,
Yep.
and so none of them went to college. So my mom didn't get to finish her high school degree. My dad did. He did attend like a semester in a community college back home, but he didn't get to finish. Um, so I have two older sisters, and they both got their degree in business. One did business administration, and one did marketing. And so I think for me, I just never interested me. And it was so funny because my mom was like, "Oh, you don't want to do business too?" And I said, "No, no, I don't want
Yeah.
to." And I would see their homework and stuff, and I was younger. And I said, "Oh no, I don't want to do stats. I don't
Yeah.
want to do all that." And
Yeah.
so I think science was just always interesting to me, especially
Yeah.
planets. I just, what kid doesn't love learning about planets?
Yeah.
And I just remember science classes where we would learn about, the mantles and planets. And I said, well, like maybe I'll do science degree, like um, be a scientist.
Mm.
I didn't know the specifics then.
Yeah.
And in middle school, or I think going to my freshman year of high school, I believe I was 14 or 15. And I told my mom I just had this urge to go visit the NASA Center. And when I went, I just was so astonished just seeing everything, because I feel like it's made also more for like a younger audience, just to inspire them. And we got to visit the Mission Control Center, which was where, they have a Houston, we have a problem. The
Yeah.
whole thing, it was right there. And we were standing in the room where people would see Mission Control. And I was just so amazed. I said, Mom, I want to do this. I said,
Yeah.
this is what I want. And we got to see the Saturn V rocket, just it's in
Yeah.
pieces. And I
Yes.
got to see, like, the engine, and I said,
Yeah.
this is humongous. Like I didn't expect it to be that big.
Yeah.
And
How
it's
old
just
were you
seeing it.
when this was
I
happening? How old were you?
was, I think, 15.
When I
Yeah.
was 16, I went to the same exact place, same exact feeling. So
Yeah,
I
right?
completely, I know where you're coming from. It's your heart,
It's
like,
so amazing
yeah.
seeing, like, and your heart races. And my mom at that time, she was like, Jocelyn, we've been here for like 5 hours. And I said, I know, but
Yeah,
like, don't worry about it.
yeah.
And I was just so amazed. And it's funny because I haven't gone back since, and I've been wanting to go back.
Me too. Yeah. Obviously, I
It
live in
has such
Australia.
precious memories, you
I
know?
know, I know, but like, oh, I so relate that feeling I got because I was the same. I was like, I like science. Even when I was in year 12, even I remember talking to my career counselor and being like, oh, I kind of want to do engineering, but it wasn't like solid. But then I remember that feeling. I was like, nah, this is the one. This is definitely where I want to be, where I want to be in life. It's
Yeah, and so, I was just so inspired. And in my community, um, just my culture, it's very, we call it machismo culture. So that means the man has to make the money in the family. You have to take care of your family, and the woman stays home and takes care of like the children, or if she has like a job, it's not as hard or as hardworking as like the man. That's just culture that we have, unfortunately. And so I said I wanted to do that. And the thing is, my mom was like, okay, then, do it, do what you want, study what you want.
mm,
And at that time, I remember I didn't think about aerospace or electrical because at the time I didn't really know about that because we weren't taught about engineering that much,
yeah,
especially to like girls.
yes,
And so I was like, oh, I think I said software engineering. I did a whole project on it, like my eighth grade or freshman year of high school.
mm,
I said I was gonna study at home and do
mm,
software because I guess coding is just something that was like kind of still new back then.
yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I want to do that. And then now I'm doing it and I'm like, I don't want to make a career out of it. But it's fun.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
fun. But
yeah,
I'm like, I would not be able to do computer science or like
yeah.
software engineering.
I completely
I said,
agree. I do love
no.
coding, but oh my God.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like praise them. Who I
yeah,
have friends in that major. I'm like, oh my gosh, I praise you.
100%,
Um,
100%. How did you
yeah.
find the kind of cultural shift going to uni? Because I also, coming from more regional Australia, I felt it too, like in a different way, of course. But how did you find that kind of the environment change of like, nah, I can be the kind of the leader, I guess, in a
It
family
was def
or whatever else. Yeah.
it definitely did shift
Yeah.
because I remember telling people in like high school, I want to do engineering. They're like, engineering?
Mm,
Really? I'm
yeah.
like, oh man. And you can tell it's all like a gender thing.
Yeah.
And because that usually they're like, oh, you maybe want to do like nursing or you want to do education, you want to be a teacher. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I said, I want to do engineering.
Yeah.
And luckily I had friends who were very supportive of that. They're like, hell yeah, like you do you.
Yeah.
And I had this one teacher, and it was funny. I was actually planning to go to this other university in another city here in Texas,
Mm,
and I had told him about it, and he never once doubted me, and he was like a mentor to me. He wrote my recommendation letters,
yeah.
and he told me, you know what, like, he's like, you want to be an astronaut? He's like, which is awesome. And he even wrote me a letter ending my final year of high school, and like I still have it in my yearbook. He wrote me a whole letter saying to not give up. And I remember him telling me about my current university. And I told him, that's way too far of home. I don't want to go there. And I ended up here anyways. And I said, man, I should have listened to him. I
Yeah.
wish I had come here sooner,
Yeah.
basically. But
Yeah.
entering university, I guess at my old hometown, we only had, I think they only had systems engineering at the time. And I said I didn't want to do that. I said
Mhm.
I wanted more focused engineering, which was aerospace.
Yeah.
And it was leaving was all on my own. I didn't have an advisor help me
Yeah.
apply out of town or anything, financial aid. I had to do that all on my own. My
Yeah.
sisters couldn't help me because they didn't go through that. My
Yeah.
parents can't help me because
I
they
didn't.
don't know about any of that. So I did the whole process by myself, and then I came to visit the university once before I made the decision to come here, and then I got in. And I think coming here, seeing all the girls in the engineering department was so great to see, and it was like a sigh of relief. And I
Mhm.
could see the cultural difference because there's a lot of people that also come from the same background I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the same thing. We all have the same thing
Yeah.
where you have a lot of people judging you because you're leaving home. That's
Mhm.
one thing. That's also very, I guess, taboo in our culture. Like
Yeah.
you're
Right.
leaving the nest without being married. And that's such a big thing in my culture where you can't leave the nest if you're not married. Like that's the only thing you should leave for. And I said, well, I'm leaving for college. And obviously my mom's like coworkers, most of them were very supportive, but those, those that are like, she needs to be careful and all this stuff. And I said, oh my gosh, they're just instilling fear in you. And so she was so hard on me my last semester. She was just like, are you sure you want to leave? Because we don't want to invest all this money just for you to come back after one semester. And I
Mm.
said, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm so hard headed. I was like, that's not
Yeah.
going. And I think the cultural shift, it also happened to her because I feel like even though she was supportive, it's still those cultural things that you grow up with
Mhm.
that, she's leaving so soon. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Mm.
Um, but it turned out really well, and I'm very appreciative of all the people I've met so far, both men and women here.
Yeah.
A lot of the men in my old degree were, I think, misogynistic. I met maybe 2, 3 people that were so nice.
Yeah.
But switching to electrical, I've met so far everybody I've met has been so nice and supportive. A lot of them follow my STEM account.
Yeah.
And so I see them at school and I get shy because I'm like,
Yeah.
man, y'all see me as this person. And then I'm here and I'm just like stressed doing
No,
schoolwork.
I'm the same. Oh, it's crazy though, because yeah, it's definitely especially with now it's different because going into my third year, I'm like a lot of the people who I felt uncomfortable with in my first year and stuff genuinely aren't there anymore, or I've just been so like slowly your friendship circle grows one by one by one. When you get to like those cohorts where the number of people is smaller. And so I like that now. I feel like so many people have my back when it comes to things like misogyny. It just won't be like, and I wish that mentality was instilled from the get-go.
Oh yeah.
Which is the sad. What do you think we can do to kind of like help that? Because
I feel like it's just the environment they also grow up in
yeah,
because
I
a
agree.
lot of the time I feel that they don't mean to be that way, but
Mhm.
it's just things they've grown up with, like misogyny is just a thing,
Tiny
unfortunately.
things. It's like, oh, I can use the drill. You can watch. Like it's
Yeah,
tiny
or
things.
they don't want to like pair up with you on projects because
Yeah,
they think you're dumb
yeah,
because
yeah,
like, oh, you're only here because like you don't know what you want.
yeah,
And I remember like I would overhear conversations about these like guys in my class who were just so daunting on like how they didn't want to work with like girls or like that we were all weed outs and like
mm,
they probably won't see us next semester. I would hear that in the aerospace department all the time. And I switched to electrical and there was actually a lot of people that switched from mechanical and aerospace because they're combined for about the first 2 years and then
yeah,
they separate because it's very similar.
yes, yeah.
And a lot of them were also in that degree. And I said, no way, were you in mechanical? And they're like, yeah, what about you? I said, I was in aero. And they were like, it was horrible. And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
so we would like bond over that. And
yeah.
um, I feel like in electrical, I've met so many, it's just community. So I feel that I've met a fair amount of women and men that are
Mm,
both supportive. They
mm,
found my like STEM account. They're like, I think that's so cool that you're doing that and you're like documenting it. They're like,
yeah,
that's so cool. And the men too in my classes, like they never once like sighed or like didn't want to be in a group project with me.
yeah.
If anything, that they liked that I was with them because I feel like in group projects especially, I usually take on a leadership role.
Yes,
Not
yes.
because I want to, but it's just because I'm like, you know what, someone has to do it, so
Yeah,
I'll do it.
yeah,
So that's usually
absolutely.
what happens.
Yeah.
And I love that because, you know, it's like I form responsibility and also we have a form of trust between
Mm,
us. And they would like go to me, they're like, hey Jocelyn, what about this? Did you figure this out? They treated me as an equal and I love that. That's all I would want. I'm like, I just want to be an equal.
yeah,
And I feel like to achieve that as being like normalized, I feel that we have to teach that at a young age, like before you even go to college.
I agree. Even things like high school physics, there wasn't many girls in that class either.
Um,
Like it starts from the beginning, and I'm like, that's why I'm like, oh, in primary school, like let's make science fun. Like let's make it fun for everyone and give everyone that chance. So hopefully the future will change slightly
yeah.
as more
And
and more
so
science, like even STEM accounts, like your account, for example, I'm 100% sure there'll be younger girls looking at it and being like, okay, this is something that's possible for me. And like
Yeah.
God.
And it's crazy because, I had like my high school friends and my friends in my old university. And you just grow apart. Like especially me moving to another city and, just doing like rigorous coursework.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Arguments happen, it's just stuff,
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But most of them I like contact with them, through like social media. And
Mm.
so I remember opening my STEM account and they were like, "That's so cool that they're like, you're still doing it."
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have known me since we were like young, since
Yeah.
middle school maybe. And they said, "That's so cool that you're still doing that you're still going after what you want." Because
Yeah.
I remember my senior year, we had this, it was called a college prep class. It was just a
Mm.
class where we apply for scholarships.
Yep.
You use
Yep.
that entire block to apply for
Yeah.
scholarships or ask questions. And so I remember there was like some students there who I guess didn't really like think about going to college. And I said, "You should go." I'm like,
Mm.
"No, you can find something you're passionate about." And I would ask them like, "Is it something you're passionate about?" And they're like, "No." And I said, "Well, you gotta find it."
Yeah.
And I was just very nice because we were all like a part of different things. They were
Absolutely.
like football, some weren't in anything, and
Yeah.
then I was like in band and like in like tech clubs.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to like just meet people from different backgrounds. And there was this one guy, and I always remember him because I helped him like edit his essays
Mm.
for college, and he graduated already. I forgot what he it was something in business, I think. And
Mm.
I was like, "Wow, like I'm really proud of you." I had told him because I remember like him telling me he didn't know what he wanted to do, and so far he's doing well.
Yeah.
And I remember when I did my academy, I posted about our first project, my first semester, and he messaged me and he's like, "Whoa," he's like, "That is so cool that you're doing this," he said. And I remember you telling me about how you wanted to do all this space stuff back in class in senior year. He's like, "I'm so happy to see you're doing it still." And a lot of people have told me that throughout the years. They're like, "I'm so glad
Yeah.
you're still like sticking with it," because
Yeah.
they're like, you can say you want something and then you don't do it, but they're like, "I'm rooting for you," and, like, that always keeps me going. I feel that having that support of, like, people that I don't even talk to on a daily basis, but they always remember that one thing about me. They're like, "Jocelyn is, like, the space person, and she's still doing space stuff," which is so
Experience. Go
so,
through.
yeah, it's really great to have that, honestly.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, on the topic of your STEM account, like what inspired you to create that? Like, where did it
At
begin?
Voltage,
Yeah,
at
I love
Voltage,
that.
I
Yes.
love her. Oh my gosh. So, I had when I had messaged her about, my academy that I needed like a professional, oh
Mm.
gosh, I love her account. And at the
Mm.
time, I was an aerospace degree.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, she's an EE and she works at like NASA. That's so cool.
Mm.
And so I was like, And it was just like a back in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, like fast forward to like a year after that, I'd be in the same degree she did and like going probably for the same things she did. And
Yeah.
so she was such a big inspiration to me. And there was also um Lauren Lauren the Savage.
Yes. Yes.
That's her account. She's
Yeah.
an alumni from my university.
No way.
So
Yeah.
so it was so
She's
cool
so
because there's
cool.
a
I love
picture
her.
of her
Yeah.
and like one of our engineering things, there's like they have a collage of students. And I remember I took a picture and I sent it to her. I was like, "Lauren, you're literally here." She's like, "No way, that's such an
Yeah.
old for me."
Yeah.
And then it was also I guess I didn't see anyone from like my area have a
Yeah.
STEM account, and I said,
Yeah.
you know what, it'd be cool to just be able to document stuff. And from my academy, there's several of us that have STEM accounts. And I
Mm.
said, like I want to do that. And then like we all started it around the same time. And
Mm.
it's just like we post similar content, but then also different because we all study different things.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was really cool to have that. And I said, I just wanted something to document what I'm doing. And I said, it'd be so cool to be like Kat, where like
Mm.
she started from here and now she's there. And I said, I'd love to document it publicly And I
Yeah.
said also so like my friends and stuff can keep up with me because
Absolutely.
they had told me at one point, they're like, "You just disappeared." They're like, "You don't know what you're doing anymore." And I said,
Yeah.
"That's my bad."
Yeah.
So I did that as a form of like, keeping up. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's brought me opportunities. Like I
Yeah.
get to interview you and I've gotten to meet other people and I've gotten to given advice to them. I've
Yeah.
been helping them apply to the academy.
Mm.
And I feel like through that it's just having
These
people
doors.
that
Yeah.
you inspire is
Yeah.
what and that's I feel like that's what I wanted, and so far it's working.
100%. And I'm like, doing something like that is so fulfilling as you go through as well. Because even I've had my account for like not even 3 months. And then I look at my first post and I'm like, oh my God, the past 3 months, like even meeting you, like meeting other people I've spoken through to
Yeah.
on Instagram as well. Like it's the smallest things, but they make a world of difference. Like,
Yeah, it's so great to just meet different people,
yeah.
but have the same passions as you do, and it's so crazy because it's, like, all over the world,
Yes.
and, like, we're all, like, going through similar things, and I
Yeah.
love that. It feels like such a nice community.
Yeah, 100%. Well, now I'm like, that's just made me happy, that whole response. I feel like we can wrap up this interview with asking, like, what has education meant to you? It can be any stage of your life. Like, why have you found education impactful and what doors does it open for you?
Oh, man.
It's a big
Um,
question.
it is a very big question. I think education is a privilege, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a privilege, but it really is, and, um I always think about like my mom. She didn't get to finish high school or she didn't get to go to college. And my dad didn't get to finish college. So my sisters and I, they really wanted us to get a degree and just, be successful, be more than what they were. And that's especially my mom. She always says, I want you to be more secure financially, be thriving in your life. And I feel like education, is just the way to get there. You can network your way up, obviously, but I feel that nowadays you really need a college degree to just get a good job. But even then, nowadays you probably need what, like a master's degree for that. Um, but I feel like education is it just means everything to me. It's a part of who I am. My education is part of what makes me me. And it's just, oh man, it's so hard to answer. It's just so important. And I feel like it's such a vital part of life
Yeah.
because I feel that without education, you don't get the same opportunities. You don't get to grow your mind the same way. Um, you don't get to learn about the world. You don't get to learn, human interaction and stuff like that. And in education, you find community besides your own. And I think that's so important because you really do have to get out there and find community outside of what you know and outside of your comfort zone. And I think getting out of your comfort zone is so important. And through education, I've gotten out of that. I've gotten out of a bubble and I've gotten to meet so many amazing people through education. I've gotten opportunities for like work and just growing my account and just being who I want to be. Education is like the number one thing that's helping me get there. So
Absolutely.
I think everything to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's such an incredible answer. And even working with one girl, like you said at the beginning, it being a privilege and it shouldn't be, but 4 out of 5 in Uganda don't attend, 4 out of 5 girls in Uganda don't attend high school. And that's like a massive part of the reason I even started working with them. I was like, education has opened the exact same doors for me, like the amount of people I've met and everything. So I'm hoping that the more we can support the cause, the more we can just make an educated world, because the second a new person is educated, that person can go on and educate so many more people, as you're doing with your STEM account and so on and so forth. It's a big cycle, a really positive cycle, which I'd love to just keep
Yes,
growing and growing and growing. So yeah,
definitely.
thank you so much for coming to talk to me. Honestly, I feel like I could talk to you for hours on end because I didn't even touch like there's so many other things we could talk about. Like I know you did some like a research project or something. You're currently a research intern. Like there's so many things we could talk about. So you know what? I might even message you to do this again at some point.
Yes, that'd be awesome. I'm always open to it.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to follow along with the rest of your journey. Hopefully chat to you soon.
Yes, bye.
Bye. Okay, that was an incredible conversation. I didn't intro the video because I was late because it's early. As you can see, the sun has risen. But as always, if you would like to donate to One Girl, the link is in the description. They're doing incredible things. That last point Jocelyn made about education really hit home for me, and I'm sure it hit home for a lot of you. The impact of education is incredible, and by supporting the cause, by supporting One Girl, you are directly opening those doors for so many more girls around the world. Also follow Jocelyn. She's just incredible. Like, oh, I can't even explain how good this conversation made me feel. Like, it's currently 6:50 a.m. and I'm ready to tackle my day. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.